Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. This is the class for Cascade CMS Accessibility Workflow. And today we're going to go over just a quick introduction to the Cascade workflow and what you'll see as editors going forward once your site gets implemented with the new workflow. As well as I'm going to go into a quick demo of the workflow steps in Cascade. I didn't want to bore you all with slides right away, so I'm going to do the demo first. I'll show you the quick checks for web page and PDF accessibility of what we're looking for in the quick checks as reviewers. There are also additional courses as well in the training in LMS, the Learning Management System, for additional web page accessibility and PDF accessibility training classes coming up. And then I'll show the possible workflow paths that you might encounter as an editor, as well as additional resources and time for Q&A. And by the end of today, I will send out a link to the video of this recording, as well as the PowerPoint slides and the links to additional resources. Just a question before we go on. Can you all hear me okay? My Zoom seems to be putting somebody else's picture as the speaker. So can people hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. So I'm just wondering why I'm not showing. It says Amy Chen talking, but it's not me showing up in the in the picture. Okay. Maybe because they think I don't need to see myself or something, but I was thinking that might be helpful for the recording instead of doing something else. Sorry. Someone's messaging me in chat. Oh, we can see you. Thank you, Nicole. I'm just trying to see how this works with video. Pardon me for my technical issues. And by the way, the recording, when I record, the Zoom does get into the recording. Hello, who just joined?
Hi, this is Carissa.
Hi, Carissa. Thanks so much for joining. Just to let you know, I just started the recording, and I'm just going over the agenda of what we're going through today with the Cascade workflow demo and quick checks.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Awesome. Let me move my Zoom window. All right. Thank you. So quick introduction to Cascade workflow. Or first of all, the reason why we're all here today is back in 2013, the University of California created the UC IT accessibility policy. And this states the UC's commitment to supporting IT that's accessible to all, including people with disabilities. And this includes the software that we use internally at UC, as well as the websites and content and documents that we produce publicly, that are publicly facing on our websites. And then for the UC, we aim to meet the W3C Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And this is also in response to legal mandates for our websites to be accessible as well. So what I'm going to show today is the new Cascade workflow. Let me jump to this page right now. So if you search for Cascade, UCOP Cascade Help, there's a page for Cascade Accessibility Workflow. And then on that page is what I'm going to be showing today in terms of the workflow steps. So these steps are what's going to be shown in the PowerPoint today. And they're outlined here as steps of what happens when you submit a page to workflow as well. And then back on this Cascade Accessibility Workflow page, there's also information about the implementation timeline. So some of you might have already received an email for when your site is going to be implemented with Cascade. And if you joined this training because of that email, thank you so much for registering. So on this implementation timeline is a link to a Box document with the timeline for Cascade workflow. So before your site goes into the Cascade workflow implementation, you should receive an email saying this is the week or date of when your site is going to be implemented. So for example, for Nicole and Nikki, Federal Governmental Relations, that'll be the last week of August and August 31st. And you probably received an email of like a date and time of when that's going to happen to give you all a heads up. So this schedule goes to the week of November. So everything is up here already. So if you don't see your name or site on this list, please let me know. But otherwise, this general schedule is up to date. So far, the emails that we've sent out are to mid-September. So again, past mid-September, things still might change, but this is the most up-to-date information that we have. So in terms of workflow, so there's also additional upcoming training, and that training is specific to the quick checks for web page accessibility and the quick checks for PDF accessibility that reviewers will be looking for Cascade pages going forward. And there's additional information about the quick checks, both for web page and PDF on here as well. And I'll be going over some of that today. Oh, and please feel free to stop me at any point for questions. I know sometimes with these Zoom meetings, sometimes it feels like just me talking to myself, but feel free to shout things out because I might not always see what happens in the chat, like here. I don't see ECAS. Okay, Sylvia, would you mind sending me a separate email? That would be great. Thank you.
Will do.
Awesome, thanks. All right, so now I'm going to do a demo of the editor workflow. So I am logged into Cascade CMS as a regular editor workflow user. So then on my page, I would make my edits. Oh, my bad. I already did some things here. Hold on, workflow start. This is, let me log in as myself. My apologies. I had already started workflow here, so I'm actually in the middle of a process here. Let me just send this back to myself. All right. Let me try again. My apologies. So I'm logged in as myself, and I'm on a page. This is back to me. Let me refresh. All right. So my apologies. If I were logged in as an editor, I would edit the page as usual, such as adding additional content to the page. This is new content. And then I'd preview the draft. My apologies. Actually, let me just copy another page because this is, I'm not showing you all the right things. My bad. Copy. All right, my apologies for that. So starting over, if I were to edit a page, this is, again, just additional information. This is how you would usually edit a page as a Cascade user. I'm assuming most of you are Cascade users and familiar with this process. So all I'm doing is adding additional content. And then I preview the draft as usual. So then what happens is you would submit as usual and then indicate what changes you made. And then check content and submit. And then it runs through your regular spell check. It runs through a few things for an accessibility check. The check that they put into Cascade for accessibility is very limited. It checks for two things, such as alt text, alternative text on images and tables. And that's about it. So our checkpoints for accessibility for the workflow, there's about 6 or 7 of them. It's a little more in depth than the 2 points that they check for. But again, it's not comprehensive everything for accessibility. This is just the minimum checks that we're looking for workflow. So the next step, this is where the page content is new. So now when you hit continue, you'll see a new start workflow page for the accessibility requirements workflow. And this is where you'll enter comments for the reviewer, such as added bullet point. So anything that you could write here to help the reviewer about the page changes would be very useful. If you've only added a few bullet points and not much has changed, that helps the reviewer look at the page really quickly versus if the whole page is new and all the content is new. I'm just going to put tests in here because this is sending real emails. So then the version comments is what gets saved if this is the version that gets published. There's a due date, which is a field that you can enter. The default is 1 week from the current date. All this field does is send email notifications. It doesn't actually do anything with passing the workflow back and forth. It's just an indicator to the reviewer what your urgency might be in getting this page published. So you can set a due date, but probably best is to put comments for the viewer if there's something that is urgent or needs attention. Please put that in this box as well. Also, if there's additional comments to the reviewer, such as, well, we want to start workflow so that people can see the page and review the page in QA, but don't publish it yet, please put that in the comments as well. So I'm going to hit start workflow. And what happens is, after a second, currently I'm the workflow user, and then the workflow changes to the approver. And what happens is the approvers list will get an email. So hopefully if I go to my email, hopefully there is now oops, where's I heard the ding, but I don't see the email yet. Maybe I need to send receive. The message could not be sent. Anyways, I think I'm having technical issues, and but I did hear an email, and what happens is the current step owner is now the approver, and an email is sent for that. Wish I could show you. Let me just check my email one more time. That is very date received from. Oh, I know why. Because I was looking something up. The date received. So hopefully I have a new email from the Cascade workflow saying that it has now been passed to review for my attention. So going back to the PowerPoint, just to go over that again, my apologies for the technical issues. So what happens as usual is you are in Cascade, you've made your edits, and then you select submit. Then you can enter your comments, such as you added a bullet point, and then you continue on as usual, check content and submit. Then what happens is your usual spell check, accessibility check, check that no misspelled words are found, check for no accessibility issues. And again, this check is very limited, so hopefully there are no issues found here on the accessibility step here. For more in-depth checking, if you're more interested in checking your sites for additional accessibility points, we're recommending to use the Wave tool, which I'll show you as well and send you a link. So then you click Finish, and then this is the new page again. So in the accessibility workflow, this is where you'll enter the comments to the reviewer and then change the due date if there's more urgency. And then what's new is start workflow. And then once you start workflow, the reviewers receive a workflow email. And then for those of you familiar or have used the QA publishing, that's also when that page is published to QA. So then you can review that page at any time.
So just to, after we submit it, then we can look at it on QA?
Yes. So once you hit the start workflow button, that's when everything just gets kicked off. So it's submitted to workflow and it's submitted to QA as well.
Got it. And this might be a question for Mike, but so with this new system, will this take out, like we email our changes like with the QA links to the ITS email. Does this take away from that? Or is this just in addition to?
I'm sorry, do you mean like you can still email links if you want people to see them for qa.ucop.edu?
So no, for our publication process. I guess I'm just wondering if that's changing or if we should still do everything we're currently doing and then this is just something else.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we can chat about this when we chat anyway. Or Mike, I don't know if you have any opinions. Okay. I'm not familiar with your current process, so maybe that's where I might not understand. Or how about we just, yeah.
Yep,
how about
yeah, totally, that's fine.
Oh, we might have lost, okay, wonderful, thank you. So yeah, I know some people are familiar with the QA process, some people aren't. For those that use it, yeah, I think it's trying to figure out what happens in that process, but it happens when you hit start workflow. And then integrating the workflow process into there as well. So then reviewers receive a workflow email. And then that's when workflow is in review. And then it goes to one of the reviewers. What the reviewer will do is review your page in the Cascade CMS. And one of the ways they'll do that is look at full screen preview and run a tool such as the WAVE Web Accessibility Evaluation tool, and also check against the basic web accessibility checks and PDF checks that I'll be showing. In case you're interested, let me ping you all a link to this tool, which I'll show later as well. I had it up. I'm just going to put in the chat and I'll send it out in email as well to everyone. Perfect. Back to this. So what happens is once you submit it to review, the reviewer has a number of available actions that they can take. So if the reviewer looks at the page and it passes the 7 quick checks, what they can do, and everything's golden at that point, then they can publish to the live site. If it's a quick fix, if it's a minor change or a change of the background, the viewer might make that change for you. So they'll do an edit by reviewer. And then when that happens, it'll send it back to you as the editor, and you'll receive a notification in email for you to look at it again. Or they can send back for changes, for more in-depth changes, or they can delete the workflow, but we would only do that if you've let us know that, for whatever reason, this workflow is no longer valid, or you just want to throw out your changes. Only then would we use that option. So for the basic web content and PDF accessibility checks, these are the things that the reviewers will be looking for in your Cascade web pages. And again, this is just a quick check, so we're trying to have some minimal quality for accessibility with pages going forward. And this is part of the legal mandate to have some sort of checks and balances system for our website going forward. Again, if you want to look more in depth at accessibility, I can help you do that with your pages as well. But for the 7 main things that we're checking for, so some of them are pretty basic, like page title, hyperlinks, we're only looking for things, so no links that say here or click here, and I can help give you examples of that as well. Image description, so all images need to have an image description for alternative text to describe the image to someone. Headings should be in order, such as 1, 2, 3. Tables should have headers, and videos should have captions. And then we're doing a quick check on the accessibility of PDF documents as well. For the WAVE tool for the accessibility, web accessibility checks, I pinged you this link in the chat. Ideally, what we're looking for here is 0 errors. For for the reviewers, what we're checking for is the 7 basic accessibility checks. If we find an error that is outside of those checks, we might let you know, but we wouldn't, pass it back to you or prevent the page from being published at that point. But again, the 7 checks are minimal for accessibility. There are other things that you might be able to do if you want to improve on that accessibility as well. So for the basic PDF accessibility checks, the first check is a PDF needed, especially because PDF is a heavy format. For example, if you create a PDF from a Word document, once you create the PDF is really like a picture of a document. So then if you ever have to make changes to the document, then you have to go back to the Word document and then create a PDF again. And then once you create the PDF, then you need to check that the PDF itself is accessible. So it's just a heavier format to use. So if it's not really needed, the example I give is like if you're creating like a flyer to post about an event, and the flyer is only going to live for 2 months anyways to the event, does it really need to be in PDF format? But again, if you do need PDF, these are the 6 checks that we're looking for the basic PDF checks. And similarly, these are things like title, alt text, headings, no links that say click here, and column headers for simple tables.
Amy, can I ask a quick question? And you
Yep,
can tell
go
me
for
that
it.
we should table this
Yeah, no
for a
worries.
separate conversation.
Uh-huh.
So Nikki and I were testing out the Wave extension yesterday, and
Mhm.
we were running it on some of our current like PDF letters that we have on our website, and we kept getting errors for headings. And so maybe this isn't something for now, but we're not sure how to change a letter so that it has quote a heading. So anyway, just throwing that out there as something that we both ran into and we're kind of stumped with.
Yeah, if you have a few minutes to stay after, I can take a look at that. Or if you want to send me an email when we meet anyway, that would work as well. I guess I'm a little confused. Like Wave is for web pages, so then for
Oh,
PDF.
it doesn't, you can't, okay. So
Yeah.
I guess I was running it on PDFs that are currently housed on our website.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if that works. That's interesting.
Okay.
I'd be curious
Okay.
to see what it does. But yeah, the Wave tool is for um,
Straight
web
got it.
pages, and then
Okay.
for PDF accessibility checks, it's probably best to do that in Acrobat
Got it.
Accessibility Professional.
That would explain why it was came up okay in Microsoft Word, but not in here. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, I'm curious because so then same with PDF format. PDF is a format. It's a document format, and you look at it in a PDF viewer, so just I guess Acrobat Viewer or other viewers. So then at that point, in the browser is acting like a viewer too, but you're not really looking at a PDF unless you really download it.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank
Cool.
you.
Oh, yeah. So here's the next point. I guess so Acrobat. So for checking PDFs, probably best to do it in Acrobat Professional. There is a option for accessibility and full check, and then this is where it can look at the PDF document itself to check if there are issues with accessibility. So then for workflow paths, these are the number of things that might happen when after you submit your page for review. So if everything is good, what happens is the reviewer will publish the live site, and then what you'll receive is an email that workflow is completed. If it's something that the reviewer will change for you, they'll do an edit by reviewer. So they'll look at the page and edit it in Cascade. And then the editor will get an email that change has been made. So you'll receive an email that says, this site needs your attention. And then you can look at the information yourself. So the workflow goes back to you as the editor. And then what you can do is review the content and edit. So if everything's good, then you could submit, you submit it again. Or if there's something that you want to change after the reviewers change it, then you can edit as well. If the reviewer sends it back to you to edit, you'll receive a workflow email to take a look at the page. So again, the workflow goes back to you to review the content and edit. And then once you've made your changes, oops, I clicked too fast, you can send to the reviewer again information about these are the changes you made for accessibility, and then use the advance button to advance the workflow again back to the reviewer to take a look again. And then similarly, when you do that, you enter any workflow comments or for the version that you're submitting. And then that goes to the normal workflow again. So once you pass it back to the reviewer, then the reviewer can also, publish live or edit or send back for additional changes. And again, for the delete, we probably wouldn't be using this very often, but this is to delete the workflow and any, so it will roll back to whatever was previously published. So any work that you had done, we would only use this if you tell us, please delete the workflow and changes for whatever reason. There is a field. So the field with the due date is what triggers these automatic emails. Again, it doesn't move anything forward or publish anything in the system. It's just a due date field that sends automatic emails to let people know, either the reviewer or the page editor, when something is past due. So there are additional resources, the Cascade workflow page that I showed, which also had the additional links to the web page and PDF accessibility, and the training classes as well. And I'll send these links to everyone, as well as the video recording and this PowerPoint presentation as well. But that was a quick overview. That's all the content information I have. If there's any additional information, if you need to drop, you can go ahead and do that, or I'd stay online for additional questions, because I think for people it might have more questions that pertain specifically to your site. Or actually, let me stop the recording if there's specific questions that people want to ask about your site. Let me